Hi, Rosie.
Fun. Hello.
So did you know that NASA's planning to go back to the moon in 2024?
I do now.
You do now. So what do you think about that?
It's fine. NASA planning to go to the moon. That's kind of what NASA does, right?
Well, maybe. I mean, for the last 40 some odd years, they've just been in low Earth orbit, going around the.
They've had robots up there,
That's true.
and it's one of those things you're kind of getting to the stage like what can benefit that humans can give you, the robots can't.
Well, I mean, I guess a lot of it depends upon what your long-term view of humanity and the solar system is. Is it just us on Earth, or have we branched out to the moon and to Mars and the moons of Jupiter and the moons of Saturn, and are we working on the first interstellar mission someplace several thousand years from now? It's kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. You've kind of still got to have humans around several thousand years from now. And there's a bit of a question right at the moment as to whether we're going to manage to, run our civilizations into the ground and our species to near extinction. So I kind of feel like maybe we have slightly more urgent things to deal with just at the moment.
So what do you see as being how would those problems get solved? What are we missing that it would take to solve those problems?
Oh God. Humans just not being as painful as they are at the moment. I don't know. So on the first bit, you've got to look at global warming.
Okay.
You've got to look at actually getting us as a world to work together to solve that. And right now, I'm not seeing a lot of a trend towards cooperation. I'm seeing more of a trend towards isolationism. And that has a whole other load of scary stuff associated with it, to do with, upticks in racism and less tolerance for people who are all identical.
But, okay, so several things. One is global warming. I understand that what's believed to be the biggest contributor to that is releasing a whole bunch of carbon into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, so we're talking about, and that carbon's released in the atmosphere by pumping it out of the ground, digging it out of the ground, and burning it.
Yes, as far as I understand things, yes.
Yeah, and so if we could find an alternative source of energy that didn't require doing that, then that would be one step towards.
Well, I think to a large extent we've already got a lot of those technologies.
Okay.
It's just we're not implementing them very thoroughly. And there's also the question as to, it's not just your fuel source, it's how much fuel you're using for various things.
What do you think? Okay, so Jeff Bezos, and he has a space company, and his sort of vision is that eventually all of heavy industry and mining and energy production is moved off of Earth, and Earth is zoned for as a park and as for light industry. What do you think about that vision?
It's an interesting vision. I have absolutely no clue how viable it is. I think it's the kind of dream you put in front of people to make them really excited to work towards a goal. But it's not even going to be on a 50-year horizon. And currently things are looking quite scary on a 20-year horizon. So, I don't know. I kind of don't want to tell people to not do stuff they care about, because you don't have to pick one thing for the whole world to care about. You can have one person who cares about social justice, one person who cares about environmental issues, another person who cares about a whole bunch of issues, and between them they solve a load of stuff. On the other hand, if you've got someone with a whole load of resources and you're not looking at, say, income inequality, your best minds that might be able to get you into space won't necessarily even be going to university, because the cost of going to university is too high. So it's an interesting vision, the route by which you get there. Could you flip it the other way around and say, instead of our route to space giving us some awesome side effects, could our route to environmental parity, whatever you call it, give us the ability to function in an enclosed system in space?
Right, learning to be a more self-contained shorter
Uh-huh.
cycles, instead of having like the rain come down into your gutters, go out the drain, all the way out to like rivers and what have you, then have the water like pumped out of the oceans, cleaned, piped all the way back to you, then put in the sewer and piped all the way back to treatment. Make it like every house has like, 1,000 gallons that just uses over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because I don't know. You've probably got some economies of scale,
Mm-hmm.
but also, yes, if we can improve efficiency, that's going to be really useful, right? On any side, if you can use how much your water is recycled in drought areas, that's going to be awesome for them.
Mhm.
And it's also a thing where if you're in a spaceship with the need to recycle your water, that will be very useful for them.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at what it would take to take our current existence, bottle it up, and send it someplace, it's like we don't even know how to do that. Like, it's like the web of skills and like supply chain and interactions is like essentially billions of people to maintain our current lives, like, and tools and, kind of systems and what have you. If we could like squeeze it up and create like a system where you could like set up a city like for refugees or for a disaster place and they can survive.
Yeah.
That would be like
So
cool.
it's going to be one of those interesting things because you're going to have the need of a lot of different solutions for different climates, different cultures, different areas. There's not going to be a one-size-fits-all.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe, you look at your deserts for your water retention technology. You look at, I don't know, how to get efficient solar in the UK where it's not always all that bright,
Mm-hmm.
and go, okay, that's where your most efficient gains are. Maybe you could, if you got all of those things, you could pull the tech from all of there. But that's also why I'm looking at that vision of going, hey, we can maybe mine the moons and all of that, which that would be an interesting one to do with what's the ethics of mining somewhere that would otherwise have been a pristine surface.
Right.
I have no clue, like, how much does the moon deserve to be a moon-sized national park? It's one of the few places where we haven't been jumping up and down on it for a few millennia.
Yeah, I interviewed one person and they essentially said, we messed up the Earth. We shouldn't be going out into space and messing it up too.
I mean, it's possible. You could say, like, as a species, we are not mature enough to have that responsibility. If you think of what the Victorians did with creating famines, with their attempt to manage in what they thought was the best, most efficient scientific way and having horrible side effects, yeah, it's entirely possible that our lack of knowledge can do the equivalent of that. We don't think there are existing ecosystems out there, but if you look at what we've done with introducing pests to Australia, maybe our track record ain't so great.
It's spotty.
It's a little bit spotty.
We've introduced like clean drinking water and sanitation to lots of the world that maybe didn't have it, but then had an explosion of population.
Well, it's also
generated
a
its
question
own.
as to what empire did we accidentally stomp up and down on that already had that stuff to the point that you need to rediscover them.
Oh,
But then that's kind of empires for you.
yeah.
This is completely off topic, but I saw an exhibition on glass, and you got these incredible technologies being produced, and then people just lost the skills
Sure.
because there was no longer a particular demand for that kind of glass. And then they had to rediscover it later on.
Right.
So, some of it's a bit of that just seems to be how humans work, and others of it is like, seriously guys, we need to get our act together. I don't know how, but it might be a good thing for like us to survive as a species if we do.
Indeed. Well, okay, let's say space travel became affordable and economical and environmentally responsible.
Yeah, because right now you've got a lot of energy going to putting things going up high.
Exactly. Well, not necessarily going up high, right? But you had to go fast enough so that
Well,
as
you've got
the
to
Earth pulls
escape
you
the
down.
gravitational field, haven't you?
Well, you're not really escaping it. What you're doing is going so fast forward that as the Earth pulls you towards it, you're also moving forward. So you're like
for
following.
orbit as opposed to...
Yeah. Missions. I mean, the moon is going fast enough that it's not able to be pulled into the the thing. So, but yeah, but assuming all that, okay, that
Yeah,
you
assuming
could,
all that.
and that you could take a vacation to like orbit and float around, and is that something you have any interest in doing?
I would be mildly intrigued by it. I probably wouldn't care enough to stump up the money for it.
Yeah, that's the economical part.
It's conscious spending, shall we say,
Yeah.
both of my time and my life and my money.
And the risk, yeah, the risk, for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time,
Oh, thank you.
and see y'all.